Scotch, bourbon and rye. If they like a bottle, they'll tell you why. Welcome to another episode of Trenny and C. I'm Trenny. This is C. We have in front of you today, the annual Whiskey of the Year.
And we're going to break it down into 4 categories. We're going to give you each of our World Whiskey of the Year. Then we're going to move on to... Thank you. Then we're going to move on to our American Whiskeys of the Year. Followed by our Canadian Whiskeys of the Year. And finally, our Scotch of the Year.
Yes.
The thing about it, there's a few rules. It's light on rules, but a few rules.
Yeah.
Can't be something that you just anecdotally tried one time. It has to be something that was at least in some way featured on the program here, reviewed.
Yeah, it couldn't have been like something we had less than an ounce of once.
Yeah.
Or like an ounce once.
Or something that you had that I didn't.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
like you went to Scotland, you
I
tried
had
a bunch
few
of
things
stuff.
that could qualify, but I still had a dram.
Yeah, so something that was actually featured on the program this year.
I will say, we did both get a chance to drink the Glenlivet 80-year-old.
Yeah.
That should qualify, but we didn't have an ounce each.
Yeah, we
didn't have time. Basically, the point being, we didn't have time to get to know a whiskey.
Yeah, it has to be something that you really, truly know to be, although we do not.
It doesn't have to be a whiskey that came out this year. It has to be a whiskey we've tried for the first time this year.
That's right. These could be older whiskeys.
Those are kind of the rules.
And before we get into that, we should say, for those people watching, we are having our first ever Trenny and C live in-person event.
Presented by 40 Creek Whiskey.
That's
right. You can get tickets at the link below.
Check the link. We're going to put in the description of the video spot too, so you can actually cut and paste it. Okay. But it's January 18th, 7 p.m. Chateau Victoria during the Whiskey Fest weekend.
Yeah.
By the way, if you can't see this tail,
there's a tail.
There's a cat here.
Oh,
walked onto set. Quiet on set. So anyway, we have our first ever in-person, probably our last ever in-person. Because I don't know what this is going to mean. But
the cool thing is we get to hang out, meet the people that we've connected with over the last couple of years online. There's a dinner served, there's desserts, and then, of course, whiskey presented by 40 Creek.
And live Drinko Plinko.
Oh, that'd be great.
So, anyway,
okay, without further ado,
our whiskeys of the year. A lot of honorable mentions, but like we just don't even have time to get into that. Like, there's so much good whiskey this year.
And I'm not going to go into, like, in years past, I'd go a little bit nuts with talking about my whiskeys of the year. So
right.
I'm just going to give a brief overview.
So why don't we start with World Whiskey of the Year? Show the people your World Whiskey of the Year.
We have the Amroot Peated Whiskey. This is bottled at 46%. I've tried the Amroot before in the past, and it was something that I was kind of struggling with. This one kind of basically started my love affair with Amroot.
It all came together.
I kind of got what was going on in the bottle, and this being slightly peated was very cool. So if you have not tried Amroot before, not a bad place to start.
And Amroot is really well known for the fusion.
Yes.
Right? Amroot Fusion. They come out with several different offerings. But I would say, so this was not my World Whiskey of the Year, but I also really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, good whiskey. Why don't you tell them about your World Whiskey of the Year?
Well, although this wasn't my World Whiskey of the Year, this other Amroot was.
Oh, man. And that's a damn good whiskey.
Yeah, so this is a single cask version of Amroot, specifically picked by the people, the fine people, I should say, at Truth Malters, who are distributing whiskeys themselves.
Look at the bottle. Like, it's
they did this custom label on it, but this is an Amroot in XPX Sherry. And it came in, I want to say it's
a potent whiskey.
60.0, I think it was. Where is it? 60.0%. This was just an absolute banger. Unfortunately, something, okay, this is where I just realizing my mistake. Picking a whiskey of the year that no one can get. That's a tough one.
Well, it's also a tough one, too.
I'm sorry.
Truth Malters is a Canadian
Yeah.
group. So
That being
it's almost like a Canadian whiskey of the year.
That being said, I think this speaks to the quality coming from Amroot.
Amroot's doing some
Across
good
the
things
board,
right now.
they dominated the world whiskey category for us this year.
Cool. So let's
move
we're
on
gonna
to American
on
whiskey of
to
the
our
year.
American whiskey of the year. I'm gonna pull out a bottle that it's not the exact bottle because we don't have it. But
We drank
it's
it all
kinda like
because it
similar.
was so good.
So the cup. Oh, we do have some of this left though. So the whiskey I chose for American whiskey of the year was the Boulder Sherry Cask.
Boulder
Which
Sherry
I
Bourbon.
thought was the sherry bourbon, which I thought was like such a unique idea for a bourbon in general to release a bourbon as a sherry
It's
cask.
been done a few times.
It has, but it's like,
But not
also,
as well.
This isn't like Boulder Spirits being from Colorado. It's not that typical kind of Kentucky vibe that you get from
Yeah,
bourbon.
that's true.
It's like it
That's
has
true.
its
That's
own thing, and it's a lot of the time the master distiller makes a single malt style and uses those copper pots that he brought over from Scotland, that kind of thing. So I think that in itself makes it a unique bourbon in its own right, and then a sherried cask version, very good stuff. And it was also bottled at a higher strength,
And
very
it was a
good stuff.
long time since we actually tasted that because that was like at the end of our year last year.
Yeah.
But this is actually back-to-back representation by Boulder for us in Whiskeys of the Year.
They put out some good stuff.
Boulder Spirits. My American Whiskey of the Year is a recent purchase of ours. This is the Michter's Toasted Barrel Finish. It comes in at 43%. We picked this one up at the Spirit release this year, thankfully at retail price because you don't even want to know what this stuff goes for on the secondary market.
It's crazy.
Unless you already do know what it goes for. But really tasty, a big whiskey, really rich. It's like impressively not disappointing at $175 a bottle.
It's really good stuff, and it's kind of cool because like we're talking about, this was the beginning of the year, this is kind of the end of the year,
actually.
and it's nice to have. It always shows that you have something to look forward to. Like the year's not over until it's over.
Oh, yeah.
And this is like a kind of a later in our season.
Yeah,
and man, that's
end
good.
of the season, Spirit release, amazing flavors, but yeah, amazing stuff. American whiskey from Boulder and from Michter's.
Okay, let's go on to our
Okay.
Canadian whiskey of the year.
Okay.
This is, we're proud Canadians, and sometimes when Canadian whiskey is good, you got to really represent it because, man, it has been good for the last like 5, 6
However many
plus years.
yeah.
And so I'm going to pull this guy out. Oh, this is the Two Brewers.
Yeah.
We have featured them before.
So, Two Brewers, this is actually another repeat winner. I think they won from us Canadian Whiskey of the Year last year. One of us.
you picked it. And
Maybe it was me. I think it was batch. I want to say mine last year was batch 22.
Yeah.
And we're up to 31.
So this is, batch 31. They have a really nice kind of like peach syrup, kind of like fruity vibe to them. But they're
House
also a
style.
single malt, which is pretty unique in the Canadian whiskey world. Well, at least it was. But these guys are doing it right. And a very small batch. They release a lot of different products. This is bottled 252 out of 1,040. So, there's not many.
It's one of those things where Two Brewers, you just pretty much love everything that they do.
Yeah,
which is a really good
release
sign.
Really, really good stuff. So if you do see, like, we still find them in the market where it's like number 7 and 8.
I was
going
gonna say I saw like
early releases
12 recently.
So like if you can find anything, I bet you will have a pretty unique experience.
Yeah,
so
you'll have a moment.
That's kind of the key with these guys: unique, different, and good quality.
Literally buy anything from Two Brewers. Doesn't matter the release.
Cool.
Okay, where I went
This is surprising for a lot of people.
It is, and I didn't. When I heard about this whiskey, I didn't want to like it.
Yeah.
And that just means to me more so of how great it was. This is the Crown Royal Winter Wheat. This was the Canadian Whiskey Awards Whiskey of the Year last year. And because of that award, I bought it. I was like, There's
Might as
no
well try it,
way
yeah.
it's that good. I guarantee it. And then we bought it, and I absolutely loved it.
And was it a whiskey of the year by Mr. Jim Murray?
No, it was Canadian Whiskey Awards.
Canadian
It was
Whiskey
like
Awards,
Davin
okay.
DePergamo and the Canadian people.
Cool.
And so it was a Canadian whiskey voted on by Canadians as the Canadian Whiskey of the Year, and I hadn't had it at the time,
Yeah.
and then have since tried it, and
And sometimes you think with Crown Royal, like, oh, how good can it be?
exactly.
And then
and
it
you know what?
turns out,
It's got
you know
the
what?
purple bag and everything, and I mean, look, it's
nothing left.
almost gone. Look,
I would say this
the
is
worst part of it was the cork was like kind of weak.
Yeah, it's a little weak.
Aside from that, like I
But this
freaking
kind
love
of shows, like, sometimes those whiskeys that you might skip out on because of the name,
it. Yeah.
you might not want it. You know, like,
Give
Crown
it
Royal,
a chance.
granted, is something people may have tasted in their youth and go, oh, I'm going to skip that.
Yeah,
whatever.
been there,
It's
done
not-
that.
They've been there, done that. But
They still know how to make good whiskey.
They can make some really good stuff.
So very interesting. And this one, if you search around, it's still in nooks and crannies.
Yeah, you
certain
can find
places
them, for sure.
It's about $100, but I say buy it.
Yeah.
I'm literally saying.
And I
buy it.
mean, you know, it's $100.
Should I start the Scotch round?
Sure, go ahead.
So this whiskey, the reason that we're doing Scotch of the Year now.
This is Scotch.
This is our final category. The reason I picked this Scotch was because it was the one that gave me the most surprise. It was the one that gave me the most shock.
Came
where
out of right field or left or whatever.
Yeah, I think left is
Left
the bad
field?
one. Came totally out of left field.
Came like midfield.
Yeah, like gap, left center gap,
Yeah,
and
no
I wasn't expecting anything. Tried it, and another thing is that it's peated, and I've never really been that into peat. But like, I keep saying that.
I know. And then we look back at our whiskeys of the year past, and it's
all
like
peated.
they're all peated.
1770 peated, like batch 1 or release number 1. Like, how are you knocking it out of the park on release 1?
It's cool because it's a Glasgow distillery,
Yeah,
a relatively new distillery.
another bottle that's almost empty. It's like there's just enough in there to shake it for show.
Yeah. So very cool.
And you know what? Like,
It did take us by surprise. We had no idea.
it comes in at 46%,
Yeah.
which is nice. But like, it was something I'd never seen, never really heard of, never tried, and then was like, okay, that's really freaking good. I mean, we have had a big Scotch year, and
We have.
and there have been some amazing Scotches. And what set this one apart was that shock factor. Just the fact that I like
creme brulee
expected nothing and loved it, and then obviously drank a lot of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a nice surprise.
So
It's always nice when there's a surprise like
and
that.
this was kind of a summer pick for us, which is like,
Yeah.
are you really loving that peat in the summer? Well, apparently.
Apparently.
Okay.
So
Final answer.
final
Scotch
this
of the
is
year.
Scotch of the year, my Scotch of the year, and it's yours too.
You should.
This is the Gordon MacPhail Ardmore, 21 years old. This is what it's in both of our glasses right now.
Yes.
And the thing that's so beautiful about this is, well, I mean, there's a lot of different things, but the nose is so rich. It has that nice, kind of maybe new car baseball glove leather
but
kind of
this-
leathery thing.
The thing I was just noticing about the nose on this one was the sweetness.
There's an amazing sweetness, like a nice sherry style. Oh
Yeah,
man!
that-
And I mean, I think it's bottled at 43.
This is a leather
46%.
bomb. Absolute
46%.
leather bomb.
And 21 years old, independent release like this, like,
Just the way that it's like,
this one develops in the glass, develops on the palate, on the nose.
just oily through and through, and just a nice greasy, slippery
Yeah.
dram.
So good, such a good whiskey. So I mean, I know there's plenty of honorable mentions out there, but we're kind of just
We could go all night talking about honorable mentions because we had a really great year for whiskey. But these are just some of the standouts for us, and I think like aside from the one single cask, the rest are like, well, and then the bourbon one, that one's pretty hard to get, and then okay, some of these are harder to get.
But we've done worse. We've done worse with harder to get.
Yeah.
But I would say one thing that we mentioned last year is it wasn't a very Scotchy year for us.
Yeah.
In the sense that we hadn't tasted a lot of new ones.
Yeah.
This year's like the opposite, where we've had so many delicious Scotches. And so for us to have these as our two big standouts is saying something.
I gotta say that, like, we tried a bunch of Compass Box that was great. We tried a bunch of Ben Romick that was great. Spey was great.
Really good.
Glendronach 15. The Cast Strength Lafroig. I mean,
Tons. And then again, the ones that we tried as single, kind of like when I was in Scotland, I had a what's it called? Lacheg 18-year-old, and man, that was delicious. Like some Port Charlotte, some Tamdhu Cast Strength sherry bombs.
But like I'm
things.
I'm looking over at the shelf here of like even Canadian whiskeys, and like there were some great Canadian options this year as well. I mean, the whole Douglas Lang lineup was really nice.
It's been a good year. It's been a good year.
Anyway,
so
I almost feel bad naming whiskeys of the year at this point.
I know, because there's so many good ones.
You're leaving out.
But
so
it's
many
a
good
lot
ones.
of it's like what you had a moment with, and what you like kind of took you by surprise.
Yeah.
Or
it's something small.
Yeah.
It's something small that just sets it apart.
So you guys and girls, let us know.
It's a game of inches.
Let us know what your whiskey of the year was
in the comments.
If there's something that blew your mind this year, or something that is an old friend that you went back to and went, oh man, this is really, really, really good.
Do you disagree with our choices?
Yeah, let us know in the comment section. And by the way, we are being hosted by 40 Creek for our first Trenny and C Presents live
event,
January 18th. Buy your tickets
Don't forget,
online, right there.
Click the link. It's in the description. Click like, subscribe, leave a comment. See you next year.
Cheers.
Cheers.